Ever felt like you're running your business on pure adrenaline, constantly putting out fires and just hoping everything holds together? It's a challenge so many entrepreneurs face, especially in the construction industry. But imagine if you could turn the chaos into a system that works like a well-oiled machine, giving you back control, maybe even some spare time. You're listening to the Construction Leading Edge podcast, the show that's all about helping construction business owners have more freedom, impact, and wealth by systematizing your construction business. Think self-managing company, a business that runs without you. My name is Tod Ingersoll, and my team and I have helped over 400 construction companies eliminate chaos, grow their profits, and grow their team. Today, we're tackling one of the most frustrating questions out there, which is how do you grow your construction business without growing the stress and the headaches? And what does it take to create systems that actually work? Join us today in our conversation with Tod Ingersoll, the founder of NuWood Creations, a construction firm that's grown from a small operation doing small projects to a thriving business doing complex seven-figure design build projects. Tod's journey from the corporate world in manufacturing to leading a high-performance team in construction is full of lessons in resilience, strategy, and the power of systems. In this episode, we'll break down three main things. Number one, the game-changing shift from working in your business to working on your business. Number two, we talk about how lean manufacturing principles can revolutionize construction. Number three, the surprising role that letting go plays in empowering your team and boosting your bottom line. And stick around because we'll uncover the pivotal moment when Tod realized that doing more with less wasn't just a mantra, it was really the secret to building a business that he could be proud of. So if you're ready to stop putting out fires and start building a business that works for you, stick around and listen to this entire episode of the Construction Leading Edge podcast. Enjoy. Tod Ingersoll, welcome to the podcast, man. How are you?
Good, Tod. Thank you for having me.
I'm not sure, but you could be the first other Tod that's been on this podcast, I think. And I do have a rule about Tods, which is every Tod I've ever met's a great guy. So, and so far you've held up that rule as well. I've been looking forward to this conversation. So let's talk about your story a little bit. Let's start with talking about your business. Tell us the name of your company, the type of work you do, where you're located, and then we'll go from there.
Well, we're a general contractor. Our company name is NuWood Creations. NuWood is spelled N-U, capital W-O-O-D, one word. NuWood Creations, Inc. We incorporated in 2005, so we're coming up on our 20-year anniversary. We brand ourselves as a general contractor. We're full service, home builder, remodeler. We do commercial work. We take on small jobs and big jobs, anywhere from $5,000 to a couple $1 million per job. We've been in business, like I said, almost 20 years. We've got about 25 employees. We're located south of Buffalo, New York. I just went down to Tampa for Thanksgiving, and I came home to 3 feet of snow. So that was a culture shock. So
I'm curious, do you have, does that affect design and construction of homes? Presumably snow load is different than it would be in other parts of the country, but are there any nuances to the design or construction process that you deal with because of where you're located there?
Well, I think the nuances are really just working around the weather. Just last week, we put a second story on a home. Looking at the weather going, it's got to be tomorrow. It can't be the day after. It can't be next week. It can't be 3 days from now. It's got to be tomorrow. And so we did a Hail Mary pass and pulled it off. I had a lid on it by the end of the day. So then the trick is, try not to get the rest of the house wet. The trick is keeping it dry. So far we've been successful. That's it's been a couple of weeks now almost. So
I can't imagine what it's like to try to get 3 feet of snow off a subfloor. That would be a challenge.
Well, when you do your time clock reports and your labor entries, there's a lot of snow shoveling in there on those days. And so that's an absolutely non-value added activity, right?
How'd you get started in business?
Let's see, 2004, I left my role of, I was director of operations running a business for Newell Rubbermaid and manufacturing business in Portland, Maine. And I started working with my brother who had a concrete business that was just him and maybe one other helper. And the name of his business was NuCrete, Nucrete. And so I said, where did you come up with that name? And he said, well, I told a customer that I was going to just come to their house next week and pour some NuCrete right over here in their driveway. And he goes, oh, NuCrete. So he kind of landed on a little name and made some T-shirts. And so I started working with him for the summer. I found it to be a lot more exciting than white collar work. And of course, I was already quite handy and I had as many tools as he had because it was my hobby. It was his profession. I ended up right after that creating a company called NuWood Creations and just teased him that, I said we should market and brand together. And anyways, 19 and a half years have gone by. He still runs NuCrete and I've got NuWood. So
what led you to make the jump? Well, first of all, how long had you worked for Rubbermaid? How long were you in that role?
I worked for the company for a year and a half. I jumped from another big company that I worked for 10 years over to that company. And I was promoted to the role that I was in for about maybe 8-9 months. And during that phase of being there for those last few months, the VP over me changed, and he came in and assessed all the top leadership, and I was one of the guys that got whacked, which was fine with me because I really wasn't enjoying it that much anyway. But I've been in similar roles for really almost 20 years. I started in low-level leadership when I was like 18, 19 years old in some furniture manufacturing companies, and just moved through different, mostly manufacturing. I learned really the art of lean manufacturing, and I worked in some aggressively managed businesses that really focused on lean manufacturing, and that was life-changing for me. I was a weapon in their arsenal, and so I really got a lot of things done, and that mindset is kind of hard to shake. And so bringing it to this field is like no one knows what you know, but it's like any other skill, unless the other person knows it, they don't know it. So it's been challenging for me trying to get my team to really, comprehend everything that I'm always talking about. Elimination of, just the concept of elimination of waste doesn't really mean anything. Non-value added activities doesn't really mean anything. Not the way that I say it and the way I say it and the way that they interpret is two different things. It's hard for me to get into everyone's head. But I've learned that all of that background positioned me that in such a way that when I came to this field, I had something that most of the other builders, if I want to say the term builders, had, and that is the business background and taking nothing and turning it into something from the business side. I know how to do that part of it as well as the physically doing it, so. For
those who aren't familiar with what lean manufacturing means, can you talk about, first of all, what that is? And then secondly, how do you apply that skill set to construction?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's been 20 years since I did it. So, actually worked for a company that was their mantra. What happens is you learn some of those tools, and hence the reason I ended up calling you is because I lost those tools and I needed help. But really it's just the concept of doing more with less all of the time, right? Continuous improvement is a never-ending journey. It doesn't stop. There's no such thing as landing on something going, it's good enough. So when you develop a process, you go, okay, we got it to this milestone. Now let's double digit improve that. And then let's double digit improve that. And we just keep on going. So to the point where there's no wasted effort or materials or actions in the background or in front of you on anything that you're working on.
That mindset doesn't seem to be really prevalent in small construction businesses. It seems like this is good enough. Let's just use what we've got. Maybe it's if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or maybe we're so busy putting out fires, we don't have time to improve our processes, something like that. As you look around the construction industry, maybe at other builders, looking at trade contractors you work with, what do you see as the predominant mindset in construction? If it's not the lean construction or lean manufacturing mindset, what would you say is the predominant mindset in construction?
Many view it as though it is what it is, and you just you make the rules as you go. And it's like, gosh, there's a process for everything. I mean, everything in your life is a process. So define what that process is. You should be training it and creating standards and holding everyone accountable for operating that way. And I found that myself, I've fallen short of that in the last few years as the company's just exploded. And my staff has gotten so big, and we take on these giant projects, and it's just not really treated as a way of life. It's just treated as a job, I think, So, I mean, there's a couple of great builders around that I admire and, friends with the owners or whatever, but I just don't see a single one in my area, that same mindset, which is, this is more than a game. Treat it seriously. I've had jobs where I've literally gone in and done, a couple $1 million jobs and lost $200,000 on a job because I committed to staying there until everything is right. And if I underbid it, it's my problem. And I'm not sure that everyone else sees it that way. I look at it going, yeah, but right is right. You can't gouge the customer because you didn't have your act together when you quoted it. You've got to stay. Your next job is only as good as your reputation on your last job.
As we're talking about this, I wonder if the mindset is different because on the manufacturing side, they're going to crank out a widget, a car, whatever it is, every minute, every hour, multiple. They're going to create a lot of these. So they play a long game. And in the construction industry, it seems like a lot of people are living in the projects where it's all based on the projects. And we just have to get this project done. And then we have to do the next project. And it's like, whatever we have to do, whatever it takes to get this project done, we're going to get it done. And it's all about the project. And I've even heard some people say, well, every project's different. All my projects are custom, so I can't really standardize things. What would you say to people who believe that? They believe, Tod sounds great, but my projects are all different. Can custom projects be standardized at all? What do you think?
Absolutely. You can standardize your techniques. You can standardize your offering. Really what's different are the designs and the selections and the, maybe the environment that you're working in or, whether it's the neighborhood or the weather. It's all the same stuff. Every job's always all the same stuff. You start and you finish, and it's all the same steps in between. You can standardize the way that you install tile. You can standardize the way that you deliver your work orders to the field. You can standardize how you keep time clock records. You can standardize all of that stuff. You standardize all of your data and you can analyze it. And analyzing data is the only way you get to the truth, about how you can propel yourself forward. It was very difficult growing to the size that we are and not having some of this stuff in place because you can't be everywhere at once. So you can't tell everybody, hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to do this. In the training we went through with SYCB, right? How can this be the last time that I have to answer this question, right? So, I mean, that is write it all down, get it into, train it, make sure that it's accessible to the employees, that if they want to know how you want something done, you just have to deliver that message in such a way that they can put their hands on it and they know where to find it. And so, but it's a universal belief no matter what it is.
I think you touched on one of the keys there is that having data is the key. What was the statement you said about data?
Having data is really the key. You need to be able to analyze your data. Otherwise, you're just kind of running blind, right?
Yeah.
I mean, looking at a P&L statement, it tells you whether or not you made money. But how about looking at job costing? And how about breaking that job costing down to actual steps by the minute, by cost category, using that information to move forward? As an example, right?
That's the key mindset. Difference is in manufacturing. It's like, all right, we need data to be able, and then use that data to feed it into the next iteration. And we're going to use, how can we improve? And if you don't have data, it's possible to improve, but you're just throwing darts in the dark and you don't really have any idea. So that's really good. Have data, whether it's financial data on your processes. How did your selections process go? How did your handoff go? How did the closeout go? What was the customer experience like? Having data is the key to to being able to improve because it really tells you the truth. So you mentioned a couple of times that the business exploded, business grew tremendously, and you had some challenges. So what were some of those challenges or issues you were dealing with that led you to schedule a call with me a few months ago?
About 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, I made a decision that was founded in some of the beliefs that came out of lean manufacturing, which is that if you have a problem and you want to fix it, you make the problem ugly. Okay, so in other words, nobody puts up with an ugly problem for very long. And that being said, I had a person who I was very fond of and was very capable, but I just couldn't get that person to deliver what I needed them to do, and they were in a management role. And so I asked that person to leave. All right, I gave the person an opportunity to stay, of course, but it just wasn't going to work, and they felt that they were a fish out of water. So that person left, and it became 4 more people after that. And it's not that the first one started. There was a chain of events unfolded that was kind of unforeseen, and I ended up losing a few of my key players. Well, in the midst of doing all that, I've rebuilt the team completely, and I think I have the strongest team I've ever had right now. So what I did is I had a problem and made it ugly. It got uglier than I thought it was going to. But, trying to keep up with, in the background while all of that's happening, the orders are just coming in like crazy because we're doing a good job on the marketing side and delivering in the field. It's just that in the management side, mostly in the office, we were shorthanded. So imagine that you're signing contracts that are a lot of money. You're taking deposits that are a lot of money, and you don't have the people in your organization to get the work done. So which includes, selections, doing all of our drawings, because we do all of our own drawings. I have 4 people in total, including my wife, who's an architect, that, we create all of our own projects. So you have to turn that right down. You have to dissect that whole project right down into the lowest level. Every specification called out, clearly communicated to employees, to subcontractors, to suppliers. When you grow big like that and you don't have the superstructure underneath you to support it, it just feels like the weight of the world, is pushing down. So the last couple of years have been super tough. And I was listening to another podcast where you interviewed a guy, and he was talking about how he went on walks. And to get away, after working 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., he would go on a walk to clear his head and listen to a podcast. And he often listened to you, as I started doing after meeting you in 2019. And I was like, God, everything you're saying is exactly what my problems are. Maybe I'll call tomorrow, and then a couple of days later, maybe I'll just reach out, sometime soon. And finally I did. I knew that I needed help. If I kept on doing the same thing over and over, right, that's the definition of insanity, because I'm not going to get a different result unless I do something different.
We'll get back to the episode in just a minute. Think about these 2 questions. First, do you have a clear, actionable plan? In other words, a strategy for your business for the next 12 months. Second, does your team know exactly where you're headed and how you plan to get there? If your business was a road trip, are you just driving aimlessly without a map, hoping you'll get there, or do you have a clear destination and a route? If your business was a football team, are you just running around the field without a game plan, playing pickup ball, or do you have a strategy to win the game, like the pros do? Here's the reality. As the leader, it's your job to create the strategy, and your team is counting on you for that. If you'd like some help with that, for a limited time, you can download our free strategic planning guide. It's the same guide that has helped hundreds of construction business owners gain clarity, set clear goals, and be able to communicate a winning strategy to their teams. In just 60 to 90 minutes, you'll map out your plan for the next year. No more guessing, no more drifting. And it's the first step toward designing the business that you want. In fact, it's the first step in our Systematize Your Construction Business program. If you want to get your hands on that, head over to constructionleadingedge.com/planning, PLANNING, to download your free strategic planning guide. Stop running around in circles. Stop just treading water. Get clarity on the vision and direction of your company. Go to constructionleadingedge.com/planning and download your free strategic planning guide today. Marketing was going well. Orders were coming in, but work wasn't getting executed. What was that doing to you? how was that affecting your typical workday, the amount of hours you worked, what you were able to focus on? How did all of that stuff affect you?
Well, I saw pictures of myself about 3 years ago. My hair was a lot darker. I just saw it a couple of days ago and I thought, holy cow, what happened? It just felt like I needed to get out of the business. That's what it felt like. I'm killing myself, one transaction after another. It's just like a slow, painful death. That's what it felt like, right? It doesn't feel that way now. It feels good. Things are great.
Good, good. I want to get to some of the systems you've implemented that have led to those results, but it sounds like it was affecting you. What were some of the other ripple effects of outgrowing your systems? Sounds like the business grew quite a bit. Some things slipped through the cracks. What were some of the other ripple effects? Was it affecting trade partners, your team, customers? What were some of the secondary ripple effects?
The folks who work for me report to me in the field. I've got quite a few that have told me that they're as loyal as a dog. And I think that's such a demeaning way to say it, but they truly are. And so they kind of put up with what seemed like the nonsense or the lack of competence because we just couldn't get it right. And I think that the rewards are there now and they know it. They can see it and feel it. But trade partners, I can't tell you how many job site meetings we've had with key trade partners that we say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it like this. Starting next week, there's going to be a meeting the following week, and then there's no time for that meeting. Or, it's just, it's like integrity went out the door last week. The ripple effect it's in everything you do. Lack of integrity is so much deeper than what I'm really saying, because that really goes to a person's personal struggles and their ability to talk out of the same side of their mouth every time. And I'm not saying that ever happened. I'm saying it's more along the line of you have every intention of implementing this new thing, but something shiny swam by, and it seems to be a better way. That what you said last week is just not the right way this week, or whatever. It's just whatever you could latch on to that seemed like it created some hope, or brought some hope, I should say, to, the situation. Like I said earlier in this podcast, continuous improvement is a never-ending journey. And it seems like, okay, I've got to continually improve over what I said last week. And what I said last week was nonsense. So we have something new this week we're going to try. And when there's just not enough people in the organization, it's tough.
You joined our Systematize Your Construction Business program a few months ago. Take us to the moment as you were going through that program when you realized that the systems you were learning and implementing in your business were actually working to solve some of those challenges. Was there a specific moment that comes to mind?
Nailing the handoff, right? It's so funny. Since I started this program, I went back and looked in Procore at a job that we did for a GC 2 years ago, where we did something like $1 million bank remodel. So we're working for a GC as pretty much their only subcontractor doing all the trades. And so I got a hold of Procore as software, and we use co-construct. I was looking at their Gantt charts, and they have a well-defined pre-construction process. And their pre-construction process, I never latched onto that because where we came in was long after their pre-construction process. So I'm just following the Gantt charts going forward. I never looked back at what they had done. And they're a large organization, right? So, maybe a role model for us to learn something from. When I'm rolling along in these podcasts and listening, and you're talking about, the just enough to start syndrome, I'm going, jeepers creepers. Can you believe it? We're going to start this job tomorrow with just enough information to start. I got Tod in my ear saying, don't do a job with just enough, or don't start a job until you have your pre-construction process completely working. And I'm going, but wait a minute, we've got to be there. We've got to get that job done. I've already made the commitment. And I'm listening over and over, and I'm saying pre-construction, pre-construction, pre-construction. You have to get ahead of it. You have to get completely ahead of it. I mean, literally right now, or maybe let's say 30 minutes ago, I sent an email to my pre-construction manager who is asking me about a hardwood flooring choice. And I'm catching myself saying, we can make that decision about 6 weeks from now because we don't need it until April, the flooring. And I'm going, am I breaking my own rules, right? Which is just the habit forming nonsense, right? So when he sees the podcast, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But so it really, it's just one of those mindsets that we all have to move over to, right? And so as you and I both know, when we started talking about working with NuWood on this endeavor, I told you that I had 4 giant projects that had to be done before spring. Or, at this point, we have lakefront community here, and being the winter, no one's really at their lakefront houses in the winter. But you can bet on Memorial Day, it's woohoo, it's party time for 3 or 4 months, right? So our deadlines are always Memorial Day. And we've got these ridiculous projects that we have ridiculously big projects that we have to have done for May. And none of them have the pre-construction work done. None of them. And I'm taking these training classes from you, which I just completed just a few weeks ago. And I'm saying, well, we're breaking all the rules right now because we have no choice, but you can be sure that we're getting our act together for the future jobs. Signed 2 new pre-construction contracts in the last 24 hours that will have all of that stuff in place before we ever start those jobs.
What are a couple of specific problems, some chronic problems you've had over the past few years that you expect to be solved with a good pre-construction process? Any specific examples?
I find that on a semi-regular basis, we mobilize into a work site and get it to a phase, and then we go over to the next project and work on that one, because that one, those next phases were definition and materials were in place. And then we'll come back to the other job site again, because now we've got more answers, or, whatever. It's mobilizing in and out. It's inefficient. It's not good for the customer. It takes our lead times unnecessarily long. Like I just did a remodel on a house that about a little over 5,000 square foot house. And it's a complete gut remodel with half of it was new and half of it was old by the time it was done. Addition wise. And we were in and out of the job in, I think 7.5 months, 8 months, complete. And it was like $2 million. And we didn't have any answers on anything by the time we started. But I happened to have a client who was easy to communicate with. And I had the team in place, enough people in place that we were able to figure the thing out easily, and some strong guys working underneath me. So that wasn't as much of that's kind of a win, kind of a win in that we could do it without a lot of pre-construction planning, because a lot of it was you're designing it and building it as you're designing it and building it, not so much ahead of time. But so many jobs most of our jobs are not like that. Most of them we're again moving in and out of the jobs like we don't know what we're doing, and it's sad. We had another house that we designed and built for someone just maybe 2 years ago, that from the time the excavation team showed up to the time the roof and siding on was like 16 days or something like that, and we knew all the interior choices. We had our act together, and I'm like, God, we made money on that one. How's that work? It can be done. It can be done, right?
So it sounds like the nail the handoff philosophy, or having a good pre-construction process, was pretty impactful. Were there any other impactful systems or processes or tools that picked up through the SYCB program?
Tod, every part of it, right? Just even the strategic planning guide. I can't tell you how many times it's like embarrassing when you ask me, what does winning look like? Or where do you want to be in 2 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I worked for these giant companies that all you did was goal setting, and you chased these goals. Where are my goals? Where are they written down? Where are they published? I've been pretty good at, the State of the Union address and talking about where we're going with the next upcoming jobs, and looking at the P&L statement and balance sheet saying, geez, we're doing okay, right? But I didn't really find myself setting goals until you challenged me, and as a result of challenging me in this program, I've written some pretty, you call them hairy, audacious goals, right? And so we're expecting growth that no one around is really expecting, no one around us. So if we hit these numbers in the next 2 years, like we are planning on, it's going to be really terrific. As long as we can keep our overhead at kind of the level that we're at, should pay off for every employee. So I expect that we're going to see a lot of the employees who work for our competition coming our way because they're going to see the positive side of working with NuWood. Right.
Some people are reluctant to roll out new processes because they say things like, well, my team doesn't want to change, or my team resists everything. They don't want to do anything, et cetera, et cetera. How did your team respond to nailing the handoff and some of the systems and processes that you've rolled out from our SYCB program?
We held a management meeting all down through the supervisor level on site. We did it in our warehouse. And so there's about 14 people, I think, all in management. The job site guys all the way through, myself. And I played the video, one of your videos for them, the one that talked about the communication, the importance of clear communication, where the Brits were trying to establish the windshield quality in their planes, and they worked with I think it was NASA. I want to say NASA, who developed a chicken cannon that you could shoot a bird at 400 miles an hour into glass to determine whether or not it broke. And there's a punchline at the end of that. I'm not going to give it away here unless you want me to. But but the punchline, everybody in my staff just cracked up hysterically. And my one supervisor goes, "We're getting a chicken cannon?" And I'm like, no, we're not getting a chicken cannon. So that, and then he brings it up in every, and I love this guy. He brings it up in every group meeting. What is it here yet? But what I really found is that I could really, even though I'm, a bit of a control freak, not as bad as I used to be, my team is absolutely just like, please get out of the way. We've got this. And so they're all embracing it. And, we knew enough that as a team that we needed to have that process in place, but we never focused on it. I think tomorrow morning at 7:30, we're having a meeting where we're going to go through a detailed schedule and also specs and selections review of one of the big projects that we have going. But the schedule is a result of you pushing us on this process to systematize our schedule, right? I'm just going to call it the schedule without going into any more detail. And instead of doing it manually, taking advantage of our software. So we're challenging CoConstruct, even though CoConstruct is not really developing more of their software. They have a terrific program, right? But you have to use the modules, right? You don't use them. It's like a treadmill with a pair of pants hanging over or whatever. So it's there, and we're using it. So it feels good knowing that we have something that, like we have the guidance from you, the playbook, and then we have these tools. So now it's just a matter of implementing.
So implementation takes a little while. The bigger the project, the longer the project cycle, the longer it takes to see results. What are some results that you've seen from the work you've done? What's different in the business now from the work you've done implementing these systems?
I'm sitting in my house right now instead of the office. And it's because I don't need to be in the office. And by the way, I spend a lot of my time in the office, but I can take the day off if I need to work on things that I need to work on, because as you pointed out very early, and it's so obvious once you hear the words for the first time, that I need to work on the business and not in the business. I've been working in the business since day one, or even before day one when I created the logo. In order to kind of take it to the next level, as I've made these commitments, I've hired a general manager to manage the day-to-day operations. And I jokingly tell all of my employees I report to him, because on the org chart, I'm responsible for sales, and that's down underneath him. It's freed up my time where I can actually focus on the things that are going to make our business grow. And so I've empowered my team to just do it without me. If you have questions, ask me. But don't ask me every question that you would normally ask me. Ask the general manager, ask yourself, or figure it out yourself.
I'd like to dig into that word empower. You said you've empowered your team. Most of the people I would talk to, most of the non-micromanagers who just want to be dictators, most of the people want to empower their team. What would you say are a couple of keys to empowering your team the right way?
It really starts with defining what people's roles are, right? And then setting goals for them. There's been a lot of soul searching here in the last 3 months since we started working with you, and looking at our process and where it is we want to go. And you look at like a 2-year plan and a 5-year plan, and you look at what is it going to take to get to the 5-year plan, and where are we today, and you break it down into bite-sized steps, and then you say, or bite-sized chunks, and you take the people that you have and you, I guess, challenge them. Or in your mind, do they fit into these roles? Create an organization chart and define what that particular role on the org chart is responsible for, and then take the big 5, right? Your big 5 outcomes that you want for that role, and create it into, or break that down into the steps that it's going to take in order to achieve those 5 outcomes, those big 5 outcomes, and just hold people accountable for them. So, we have that process started, but it's not complete. The org chart is complete, and people know what their roles are, but we're a bit scrambling, trying to keep up with the demand that we have, just keeping up with specs and selections, right, on the jobs that we have, because we're already, we're knee deep in those jobs by far. So, in fact, imagine that we're here. It's the 17th of December. I just got notification this morning that we have a building permit on another new house, not the one we started digging yesterday, the one we're going to start digging next week. And so we're putting foundations in the ground here next week. And I think that's Christmas week. So, not the ideal time of year to be pouring concrete, but it is what it is, right?
We'll get back to the show in just a second. If you're a construction business owner, let me ask you this. Are you feeling trapped in your business? Maybe you can't take a real vacation without being on call 24/7, or when you finally do step away, there's going to be a mess waiting for you to clean up when you get back. Or maybe the constant stress of putting out fires and carrying all the responsibility and making all the decisions is keeping you up at night. And you're worried about losing a good employee, or it's affecting your health, or worse, it's keeping you from being present with your family. What if instead you could finally step back from the day-to-day chaos, take back control of your time, and build a business that runs profitably and smoothly even when you're not there? If that sounds good, I'd like to invite you to book a free business evaluation call with my team. In just one call, we'll help you get crystal clear on 3 things: the root cause of the biggest problems in your business, the goals and vision you want to achieve for your company and your life, and we'll map out a personalized roadmap you can follow to make that vision a reality. Look, we've helped hundreds of construction business owners systematize their business so they can work less, earn more, and actually enjoy their lives. And we can help you too. The first step is up to you. Head over to constructionleadingedge.com/apply to book your free call, or just click the link in the show notes. Don't wait until it's too late. Take the first step toward freedom today. All right, let's get back to the show. You mentioned you have some plans for growth. I'm curious, what are some of the results that you're looking forward to experiencing now that you have these systems in place? As you look down the road, 12 months, 18 months down the road, what results do you expect to see in that time frame?
Results for the business, right? People feeling that they have the autonomy to work without guidance from me. One of the things that I'm personally looking forward to is maybe a little bit more free time, a little bit less, 60, 70, 55-hour weeks. If I can get back to, I'd like to get under 40, and I think I can. My team does afford me a few days off every couple months. I go down south for a few days and come back. And so that's a nice feeling, knowing that nobody needs me necessarily, and I'm just a phone call away. And by the way, when I'm down there are days where I watch the sun come up and it's going back down, and I look at my wife and I go, we got to get out there before the sun goes down, because we're both working on our laptops. But I would like to think that we're so far ahead of it that if we take a few days off or a few weeks off, it's not really a big deal. No one really misses us. And, we have adult children, right? So it would be nice to be able to spend time with them without feeling like we can't right now because we have to work on this project. And I mean, watching them grow up the last few years, there was a lot of that. We'll see you tomorrow kind of thing. Nobody deserves that, right? So
yeah, that's good. What advice would you give to somebody who's considering joining our Systematize Your Construction Business program? If they called you and said, hey, Todd, I'm thinking about joining it, What would you tell them?
I'm going to say that they're a fool not to. I'm going to say that if you think you can do it on your own, you're a narcissist, and you really just need to let go and give your team what they want, which is control. And by the way, you're going to get a lot more out of your own personal life if you let go, without sounding over dramatic. Really, like, your program is saving my life. Maybe not physically saving my life, but certainly my sanity and my happiness, right? You broke the thing down in such a way that, a knucklehead like me can actually see all the moving parts. And I did tell you after we got done with the program that it's kind of like watching the movie Pulp Fiction. You got to watch it all the way to the end and then go back and watch it again. If you can see the final outcome. At first I was scared that I'm not keeping up. How can I pull all this off in 8 weeks, or whatever the program was? I think it's 8 weeks, right? How can I pull it off in 8 weeks? I can't do it in 8 weeks. Yeah, that's because it's a never-ending journey. This is the playbook, right? So now that we've got the playbook, I think we're already at least a third of the way, not complete in the 8 weeks, probably not complete, but I would say that a lot of the stuff, we're already doing some of that week 8 stuff on a regular basis. Maybe not according to the way you drew it up, but the way that we've drawn it up, it's the same thing, right? You have to let yourself go, and you can't do it on your own. Your program's affordable, and it's well done. And the weekly meetings that we had on Wednesday at 4:00 every Wednesday, tremendous. I mean, it's just the right size. It's manageable.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. I do want to go back to something you said. If you try to do it yourself, you're a narcissist. Tell me about that.
I think at some point in time, I definitely think I was. Probably people could say that I am. I'll tell you one thing, I'm a lot more humble than I used to be, and I don't think it's because I'm older. I think it's just because, I'm sure it is, but I think it's because I'm wiser. I have a lot more happiness in my life. I love my wife, and she and I are, 2 peas in a pod, and that's made a difference in my life. Being a narcissist, trying to take control of everything has no benefit to anything except your own ego. And there's nothing positive about that. You come across like an asshole to everyone around you. So I would recommend that you look in the mirror and just admit that you can't be everything to everyone.
That is uncomfortable. I had a conversation recently where I was sitting down with a consultant looking at my business, and it's no fun to look in the mirror and say, yeah, I've been at this for 10 years and I never thought about that. And it kind of stings. And in a way, it would be easier just to shut that person down and, say, no, that can't be right. I'm doing it the right way. But it is uncomfortable, but it's really the only way to move forward, is to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I don't know it all. Maybe I could figure it out on my own, but I'd rather not. The statement I've adopted is, I want the lesson without the scar. I've got plenty of scars. I've paid a lot of stupid tax. I think, as Dave Ramsey would call it, a lot of stupid tax, hundreds of thousands of dollars of stupid tax. And I want the lesson without the scar. That's where I'm at. Question about implementation. Implementing change in a business, especially with a team your size, is very difficult for a lot of people. A lot of people just get stalled out. They just can't implement any changes. What would you say are a couple of the keys to implementing systems and processes and actually get your team to embrace them?
You have to basically create some kind of a subsystem inside your business, whether you're doing it in software or whatever, where you're setting deadlines for the individual steps that you and or your team have defined that will get you to the finish line in order to meet the objective that you're trying to get to. So you have to hold yourself accountable. I'm not great at holding myself accountable. So any of my guys who are going to be listening to this podcast in the future know that, because I'm going to come up with a reason why I need to go make that sales call or I need to make this phone call. And so it is very difficult, right? I think the beauty of the new infrastructure that we have as a business is that I think all of us are really interested in holding each other accountable, because we We have seen how the last year had some really favorable results for our business, and how I was able to share with the team accordingly, right? So they know that the hard work pays off, and then they see the reorganization work that we've done. And so I believe that ultimately I don't have to hold anybody accountable. I think that they're going to hold themselves accountable. So I don't know if I'm answering your question. I think your real question is, how do you make the change? How do you make these changes? And I think you just have to do it by holding people accountable, defining what those steps are. It's really just, everything is a bunch of ingredients so that you can make that end cake or whatever, right?
Getting the structures in place to be able to hold people accountable is a good step. Then what you said is, when you can get things set up where people are holding each other accountable, that's when you've got something pretty special. That's a high performance organization there that will run without the owner pushing all the buttons and trying to drag people forward. Yeah, that's good.
We've got an amazing office, right? Everyone comes in our office. They're like, wow, I just want you to build this for my home. I go, well, okay. Can I build it like this? Well, not just like this. Okay. People give us compliments when we come in there, but what I've not done is created enough wall space. Okay. So in this, where I'm going with this is that, coming from lean manufacturing, I'm sure you can appreciate this, right? You use visual management, right? And visual management is peer pressure. Peer pressure, you put up all your KPIs everywhere, and somebody keeps them updated all the time. And so when something's red or when something is, an outlier, somebody's in trouble, right? Somebody's like, I got to get this, I got to get my stuff done. What's interesting is that I've been trying to figure out how I can put, maybe 20 or 30 monitors on the walls in my office. They're actually tied to software that, something's blinking, right? Which forces my pre-construction manager to do something that he is behind on. Even though I know he accomplished 11 things yesterday, he had 12. So how come that one's not done? I don't want to do that to anybody, really. But it's a way of holding people accountable, right?
If you go through a Starbucks, or if you're standing inside a Starbucks, you'll see a screen where they have their metrics that they're tracking, the wait time and other things. Grocery stores have these metrics, and they just put them on the screen. I've seen it in car dealerships where they just post the numbers there. And I've even done this to some degree with the companies I've ran. I found one of the best ways to create accountability is just to have a scoreboard. People are competitive, and you don't have to say anything, but if they know they're behind, everybody else knows they're behind, and it creates this culture of accountability. So I think it's a great idea. Some sort of visual scoreboards. It's definitely a good way to create accountability. I like it. So let me ask you this. You have a few decades of experience in a couple of different industries. What is one piece of advice you would give to a construction business owner who's in the first year, maybe they're between 0 and the first year, could be planning to start a business, maybe in the first year of their business. What's some advice maybe you wish somebody would have given you in that first year of your construction business?
Initially, when you started asking it, I was going to state that the one thing you can never do is let your customer down, right? But I personally didn't struggle with that. That's probably the best thing that you can start with, right? In years 0 and maybe up through, whatever. I mean, still to this day, don't let your customer down, because the only reason you have the next job is because you just proved that you took care of someone else. I'm going to start and end with that. I think that's probably the biggest thing to do, is listen to, VOC, right? Voice of the customer, and give them what they want.
That is great advice. Give them what they want, not necessarily what you want to do, but it really starts with the customer. Yeah, great advice. If people want to follow you, go to your website, catch up with you on social media, keep track of your growth in the next couple of years, where is the best place or the best places people can go to keep up with you?
So we're on Facebook and Instagram under NuWood Creations. We have a website, NuWoodCreations.com. And NuWood is NuWood, creations.com.
Great stuff. Well, we'll certainly look forward to hearing about your results over the next year or so as things grow. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast. And even more so, it was a blast. I know our team had fun working with you, and you did a great job. We love working with people who show up, do the work, they're excited, they implement, and they get results. That's you and your team. So if you guys very impressive, and we're looking forward to watching you grow.
Thanks, Todd. I mean, we feel exactly the same way. What your program has done for our company, and I can't take credit for making the phone call. You can take credit for going out on the airwaves and creating a system that's very manageable for folks like myself. So I'm very appreciative. So is my team.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd. See you again.
Hey, it's Todd. Before you go, if you own a construction business and you know you need to put the right systems in place, whether it's to be able to scale up, to be able to take a proper vacation, step away from day-to-day operations, if you know you need to make it more profitable, or even prepare it for a future sale, if you know you need to make some changes in your business, there are really only three options. I want to clarify this for you. Option one is do nothing. Keep doing the status quo. Same inputs, same results. Keep doing the same thing that you've been doing. Option two is to DIY it, to do it yourself. You can try to reinvent the wheel, piece together solutions from books and podcasts, hope that trial and error gets you where you want to go. In my experience, this is the path of most resistance. Or there's option three, which is to find a proven system that delivers the results you're looking for. Think about it, sort of like when you sign up for software for project management or bookkeeping, you probably didn't try to code your own software, right? You found a system that works. So that's a proven system that gets you the results you're looking for. Well, if you're ready to systematize your construction business, we've helped hundreds of construction business owners implement our proven processes, including our Nail the Handoff pre-construction system. It works for home builders, remodelers, commercial general contractors, and trade contractors like electricians, plumbers, roofers. The first step is simple. Schedule a free business evaluation call with my team. Just click the link in the show notes to book your call. On that call, you'll walk away with clarity on the hidden root causes of your biggest challenges. You'll learn about the pitfalls that you want to avoid as you move forward with your business. And you'll walk away with a customized roadmap that you can follow to get where you want to go. This is not a sales pitch, okay? There's no pressure. We may not even talk about working together. You may not even hear about our program. This is all about evaluating your business. It's going to be the most valuable hour that you've spent working on your business in a long time. So don't wait. Click the link in the show notes to book your free business evaluation call now. And the last thing, if you've been enjoying this podcast and getting value out of it, I've got a quick favor to ask. Could you take a moment and leave a 5-star rating and maybe a short review on the platform that you're listening or watching on? It really helps the podcast grow. It lets other people know what to expect. Plus, I love to hear your feedback. It means a lot to me. Thanks so much. My name's Todd DeWalt from ConstructionLeadingEdge.com, and I'll catch you on the next episode.